Okay, so I am going to kind of go over lesson 2 and 3. So we skipped lesson 2 and 3 in the book, and I just wanted to go over it with this worksheet because I felt like it gave more example problems and whatnot. But this lesson is very important for those of us that are going to take pre-calculus. But a lot of the concepts we review in this lesson is very important for algebra 2 as well. Okay. The main thing to take from this lesson is that we're learning about special right triangles. Okay. The learning objective here is I can apply the properties of each special right triangle to solve for a side of a right triangle. And then later on, we're going to talk about rationalizing the denominator. What does that mean? Okay. So here is the first kind of like vocab word here. So this is a special type of right triangle whenever we have the angles 45, 45, and 90 degree. Okay. When we have these angles, we can make like special formulas from them, right? So let's first, like before we go into the formula, we need to know what these sides are called. We call this side, these two sides, the legs of the triangle. And we always call the side that is across from the right angle the hypotenuse. And I'm going to start just abbreviating as HYP, okay? Notice how this is a 45, 45, 90 degree triangle, right? These two angles are the same. So that means this triangle is an isosceles triangle. Remember what that means, isosceles triangle. That means the two legs of the triangles are congruent. They're exactly the same. So if this is some number x, this one is also going to be x, okay? And the hypotenuse is always x times square root of 2. Now, this square root of 2, there's a specific reason why it's square root of 2. Okay, so we'll kind of go into that in the next video, but just kind of understand the formula right now. Just try to memorize it first and understand how to use it. That's the most important part right now. Okay, so the formula that comes with this, is the hypotenuse is always equal to whatever the leg is times square root 2. Okay? The hypotenuse is always equal to the leg times square root 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and use this in some problems here. Okay, these two problems are very straightforward. They're very simple. I just want to do simple examples first. So let's look at my triangle. I see the 45 degree here. I see a 90 degree here. So that means this missing angle has to be 45, right? It has to be 45. So that means we're going to use this stuff right here, the 45, 45, 90 degree triangle formula. So let me identify my sides first. My step 1. These problems are going to follow 2 steps. Step 1, label your sides. Okay, so label my sides. I know across the right angle is always your hypotenuse. I know the other 2 sides are your legs. Okay. Remember, this is an isosceles triangle. So if this side is 8, it also has to be 8 right here. Okay. And now step 2. Step 2 is use your formula. Step 2, use your formulas. Okay. This one only has one formula. So the formula here is hypotenuse equals leg times root 2. Right? That's the formula from up here. So let me just plug them in. Right? Hypotenuse is x equals the leg is 8. So 8. And then times root 2. I'm just going to put them next to each other like that. That's it. We're going to keep our answer in the form of a square root, 8 square root 2. You could have answered this without using the formula. If you kind of look at this problem here, the leg is 8, right? And we said in our vocab, in our definition, whatever the leg is, the hypotenuse is always going to be that leg times square root 2. So if the leg is 8, the hypotenuse has to be 8 square root 2, right? Just kind of makes sense, okay? But I would recommend always using your formula because sometimes it's not as straightforward as that, okay? So let me just erase some of these marks. Okay, let's keep going. What about this question? Right, what about this question? We're going to go ahead and label our sides first. Step 1. I'm not going to write the step every time. I'm just going to say step 1, label the sides. Hypotenuse. This is your leg. This is your leg. Right? If this is x, this side is x as well. Cool. Let's move on. Step 2. Formula. I'm going to keep writing on the formula until I memorize it. Okay? So if you didn't memorize this formula yet, you should also keep writing it down as well as practice. I know the hypotenuse is 5 square root of 2. I know the leg is x. I know, and I have to multiply by square root of 2. In this problem, x was already by itself, right? So I didn't have to do anything extra. Once I plugged in my values, it gave me the answer. Here, I'm looking at this problem, and x is not by itself. It has a number next to it. So how do we get x by itself? This is x times square root of 2. So let's do the opposite. You divide by square root of 2 on both sides. I have c square root of 2 on the top, and I see square root of 2 on the bottom. Okay, those cancel out, and these cancel out as well. Okay, so what you're left with is x equals 5. That's it. And again, you could solve this just by looking at the picture. If the hypotenuse is always like some number x times square root of 2, and then the leg is that same number x, then that means in our problem, right, if you look at our problem here, if this is 5 times square root of 2, these have to be 5. That makes sense, right? Just by looking at the picture. Okay, keep going. We have a new formula here, new special right triangle. So there's only 2. There's the 45, 45, 90. And then there's the 30, 60, 90. Okay? 30, 60, 90 is exactly the same thing. We're referring to the angles of the triangle. 30 degrees, 60 degrees, 90 degrees. It all adds up to 180. That's good. So let's label our sides first, okay? This one, it's a little bit different. A hypotenuse is still the hypotenuse, okay? It's still across from the right angle. But now I'm looking at the 2 legs, right? I see a leg here, and I see a leg here, but notice how one's shorter and one's longer, right? So they're not going to be equal to each other anymore. This is not an isosceles triangle. We're going to say one's the short leg, and then one is the long leg. So that's what we're going to do to label our sides, okay? This is how we're going to label our sides. So if we have some number x as the short leg, right, the hypotenuse is going to be double the size, and then the long leg is going to be square root of 3 times that side, okay? So that's our formula here. Our formula is going to be formula. So this one, there's 2 formulas, okay? There's 2 formulas. So the first one is whatever the hypotenuse side is, it's always equal to the short leg times 2. Whatever the long leg is, it's always equal to the short leg times square root 3. Okay. And again, later on, I'll show you where these numbers come from. Why is it 2? Why is it square root of 3? I'll show you in a separate video. Oops. Okay. But just for now, we need to understand how to use these formulas and how to, what's the word? How to use these formulas and how to, or remember them, memorize them. Okay. Let's use these formulas. I see 2 examples here, 2a, 2b. Okay. 2a. Again, look at the angles first. I see a 60-degree angle. I see 90-degree angle. That means this missing side has to be 30 because 90 plus 60 is 150. 150 plus 30 is 180. Let's label our sides. Step 1. Step 1. Label the sides first. So this is hypotenuse. This is short side or short leg. And this is long leg. Okay? Hypotenuse, short, long. Okay, I did my first step. Step 2. Let's go ahead and use my formulas. I have 2 formulas this time. So let me write both of them down. And the other one equals short times root 3. And it doesn't matter which one you start with. I'm just going to start with the first one, right? I know the hypotenuse is x. I know the short side is square root 3. And I know I have to multiply that by 2. Okay? Usually, so again, x is by itself. Not negative, sorry. Square root of 3 times 2. That's the same thing as 2 square root of 3. You want to keep the habit of putting the constant number at the front, like the whole number in the front. When you get to algebra 2, pre-calc, you're gonna thank me for kind of like forcing you guys to put this number in the front. Because you're gonna see a lot of problems like this where it's like, oh, 4x squared, 4x cubed, minus 5x squared, plus 2x equals 56 or something. And you're gonna notice all of these numbers are in front of the x. It's just good practice. You'll see why it's important later on. But just keep it that habit of bringing that number to the front, okay? So x is 2 square root 3. Let's try the long formula, right? The long is y. So if I plug in y here, equals, the short side is square root 3 times square root 3. Okay. When you have 2 numbers that are square roots and you're multiplying them together, you literally just do that. Go ahead and multiply them. Square root of 3 times square root of 3 is square root of 3 times 3. Square root of 3 times 3 is square root of 9. What is square root of 9? That is equal to 3. Okay? 9 is a perfect square, so it goes back to 3. So y is 3, x is 2 square root 3. Okay. What about the next one? Next one. I'm going to kind of just breeze through this, okay? I'm making this video so that you aren't too lost. Maybe you just need to hear it one more time. Maybe I was going too fast in class. Maybe whatever reason it is, this video is here for you. But I don't know. I've kind of talked about this a bunch of times in all of my classes. So let me go ahead and solve this here. Right? Again, 60, 90, this angle has to be 30 degrees. Step 1, label my sides. By now, you should be a pro at this. Labeling your sides. What is what? What is what? What is what? We're still doing 30, 60, 90, right? So we're using this special right triangle, this one. If it was 45, 45, 90, you're using this one, okay? But you need to know the difference between the two. Let's keep going. My first formula, hypotenuse equals short times 2. Long equals short times root 3. Let me plug in my values. Hypotenuse is x again. The short side is 3 square root 3 times 2. All right? So now how do you simplify this? Can I combine? You're asking yourselves, do I multiply 2 to the 3 or do I multiply it to the square root of 3? I want you to think about that for a second. If you said you're multiplying to the 3, you are correct. You multiply it to the 3. You can't combine 2 and square root of 3. Okay? It's kind of like if it was... Oops, right there. Okay. I don't know why I keep doing that. Like here, if it had 2 square roots, then you can combine them. Okay? But here, there's no... It's only 1 square root, so it's going to be 6 square root 3. 6 square root 3. What about y? Okay, y, the long side is y, 3 square root 3 times another square root 3, right? So then now you can multiply them together. 3 square root of 3 times square root of 3. Again, I'm going to skip this step. I'm just going to go from here to here, because at this point you should know that turns into just square root of 9, okay? So that's square root of 9. Square root of 9 turns into 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. Okay? So y is 9. X is 6 square root 3. Okay. This is going to be a long video. But I'm going to try my best to go over all of these questions. So let's keep going. This is the part where rationalize the denominator. I've said this in class. Like maybe a lot of the time, like I know you guys know what the answer is going to be. But I think there's some confusion on what the question is asking for. Right? So what does it mean when we say rationalize the denominator? That means we want to get rid of the square root. Square root at the bottom of the fraction. Okay, that's what it means. Okay, let's get rid of the square root at the bottom of the fraction. So I see these 3 problems. You cannot have a square root at the bottom of the fraction. You cannot have a square root at the bottom of the fraction. It's just a rule that we follow in math. And so how do we get rid of a square root at the bottom of the fraction? Maybe you've been kind of following along here. Where if you look up here, right, when we did square root of 3 times square root of 3, I'm going to highlight this and this. It turned into square root of 9, right? And then it went back to 3, okay? So notice how when we multiply a square root by itself, it goes back to just the original number. So that's kind of the key here, okay? That's the key here. Okay, sorry, I got distracted. So that's the key here. Let's go ahead and multiply. I see the bottom number is square root of 2. And remember, I'm trying to get rid of that square root. So what do? We multiply the top and the bottom by square root of 2. Okay, so that top is just going to be 5 square root 2. Okay, square root of 2 times square root of 2, that's square root of 4. What does square root of 4 turn into? That turns into 2. Okay, that's our answer. That's it. Okay, what about the next 2? Now I have different numbers at the bottom, so I'm going to go ahead and multiply by square root of 3 here. By square root of 3. And then keep going, right? It's the same thing. 20 square root of 3. Okay, I'm going to do this step, right? I'm going to skip it. I know square root of 3 times square root of 3 is square root of 9. And I know square root of 9 gets you back to 3. So I'm going to stop writing that. And I think by now we should be able to understand that it's just going to get to the number itself, okay? So let me just start skipping that step to save some time and space. What about this one? This one's a little bit different. All right, it's a little bit different. So again, always multiply by that bottom number because we're trying to get rid of it at the bottom. So what's square root of 3 times square root of 5? I'm giving you some time. That should be square root of 15, right? 3 times 5. And then at the bottom, again, square root of 5 times square root of 5 is square root of 25. That turns into 5. Okay, so this is it. This is your answer, square root of 15 over 5. So, okay, we know how to rationalize the denominator. Rationalize the denominator. Let's keep going. So, these first couple of questions, they were very simple, very straightforward, right? I wanted to give you easy ones to know how to use these formulas first. But now let's get into more challenging questions down here. I'm going to skip some of these. I want to save some time. Like, I'll do the work. The ones that I skip, I'll post the notes on Schoology. So try to follow along with the notes that I posted, but I'm not going to explain it in this video. I don't want to make this video too long. Okay. So let's look at this one. Number 3. Solve for x and y. Pay attention to the angles first. I have a 45 and a 90. So that must mean, that this missing angle is going to be 45 degrees, right? Okay. And then let me go ahead and label my sides. This is hypotenuse, and these two are the legs. I already know right away, what is y equal to? This is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. It's an isosceles triangle, so that means y is equal to the other leg. They have to be congruent, okay? So there you go. You got your answer right there for y. That's it. Let's use our formula to solve for x. Again, I'm rewriting my formulas because I know I need to memorize it. You should be doing the same thing too. X equals 9 square root of 2 over 2 times square root of 2. That square root of 2 gets multiplied. Does it get multiplied to the top of the fraction or the bottom? It's only one of them. There you go. It should be top. It should be the top. It should be the top, okay? So if we're multiplying it to the top, square root of 2 times, you're going to multiply to the other square root number. So that should be 9 square root of 4 over 2, right? And then square root of 4 is 2. And then from here, you should know that if you have 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, that's going to get you, they're going to cancel out and it'll just stay at 9, okay? So I have my y and I have my x. Y is 9 square root of 2 over 2. X is just 9. Okay. Let's keep going. Again, I'm going to skip this one, but I'll post it on Schoology. I'll post the full solution. Let's look at this one right here. Solve for x and y. Leave your answers in the simplest radical form, as radicals in the simplest form. So there's a new part of the definition here. We'll kind of come back to that. So let's go ahead and solve this the way we know. You can label first, hypotenuse, leg and leg. Right? This is a 45, 45, 90. Okay? I see that. So let me, again, leg, the y is equal to 2 square root of 6 over 3. These have to be equal to each other. Cool. The other formula, hypotenuse, equals leg times root 2. Hypotenuse is x. Equals the leg is 2 square root 6 over 3. Here we write that 2 square root 6 over 3 times square root of 2. So now we're multiplying again. It gets multiplied to the top of the fraction. So it's going to be square root of 6 times square root of 2, which is square root of 12. Okay, so that leave your answers as radicals in simplest form. That's referring to this part right here. Okay, radical means the same thing as square root, which means the same thing as root. So how can we simplify this square root of 12? Let me do that on the side here. And we're going to go more into detail in this other video that I'm going to post. But it should be... yeah, it's going to be a separate video. I don't want to combine everything into one video because it's going to be super long. but square root of 12 is in the other worksheet. We're asking ourselves, can we break down 12 into two different numbers that multiply to 12? And there's a bunch of ways to do this. I'm going to go with one of the ways that I taught my second period, right? So let's break this down. I know 2 times 6 is 12. And I could even break this down even further. I know 6 times is 2 times 3. Okay? And I can't break this down even more. These are the prime factors of 12. So that means I can break this down into 2 times 2 times 3. Right? 2 times 2 times 3. So those are these numbers. 2 times 2 times 3 is the same thing as 12. So then let's group them up. Let's group them up in pairs. I know there's 2 2s and there's just 1 3. Right? So then we can break that up into square root of 2 squared times square root of 3. And remember, the square root and square, they cancel each other out because they're opposites. So you're just going to be left with this. Okay? So this is how it works out. This is what I mean by leave your answers as radicals in the simplest form. So that square root of 12 is going to be 2 square root 3. So, excuse me. So let me go ahead and plug that in. Oops. 12 is 2 square root 3. 2 square root 3. 2 square root 3 over 3. And then keep simplifying one more time. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 square root 3. So that's your final answer, okay? All right, keep it moving, keep it moving. I think this is the last two, yeah, okay. I'm going to do 5A and then number 6A. I want you to try 6A on your own. And then I want you to try 6B on your own as well, actually. So 5 is the last one I'm going to do, okay? And then the other two, I will post it on Schoology. Okay. So let's try this out. Sorry. I'm exhausted, guys. I'm putting in the work. Okay. 30, 60, 90, right? Looking at the angles, this is 60 degrees, 90 degrees. That means that last angle has to be 30 degrees, right? Let's label my sides. Label the sides hypotenuse. So remember, this is the 30, 60, 90 one. We're going back to this one right here, 30, 60, 90. So I have to use these formulas as well. Hypotenuse, this is clearly the short side. This is clearly the long side. I'm going to go jump into my formulas here. Equals short. I want you to get to the point where you don't even have to rewrite the formula anymore, right? You could just go ahead and just plug it in. Because this is so time consuming. Well, for me, I'm doing this a bajillion times. Okay. Hypotenuse, x, equals short, y, times 2. Can I do anything with this equation? No. I have an x, I have a y. I don't know what y is, I don't know what x is, so we can't really do much. Let's move on to the other equation and see if we can do something with this. The long side is 7, the short leg is y. So 7 equals y times root 3. Can I solve for y here? Yes. What do? We need to get y by itself. So we have times square root 3. The opposite of multiplying by square root of 3 is dividing by square root of 3. So let's go ahead and do that on both sides. Ultimately, this cancels out and this cancels out, right? I'm going to rewrite y on the left side because I want to work on the right side of this, okay? So now I have 7 over square root of 3. What's wrong with this fraction? Remember earlier we said we cannot have a square root at the bottom of the fraction, right? This is called rationalizing the denominator. So let's practice that again. Let's go ahead and take it away. Let's take it away on the top and the bottom by multiplying the top and the bottom by square root 3. So the top is 7 square root of 3. And then the bottom is what? Square root of 3 times square root of 3, which is square root of 9, which turns into, yes, 3. Good job. Okay. Can I simplify this anymore? 7 divided by 3, that's a decimal. Square root of 3, no, let's keep it as that. That's your y. So then I have my y. Let's go ahead and plug that into that equation there. Okay. So that means we're going to squeeze that in. So 7 square root of 3 over 3. Let me write that one more time. No. Times 2. Sorry. Now again, this number gets multiplied to the top. However, it's times 2. So you're not going to multiply it to square root of 3. We're going to multiply it to the 7. So you're going to get 14 square root of 3. Okay, so that's your answer for x. And this is our answer for y. Okay, I'm going to stop the video here. But if you want to figure out 6a and 6b, it'll be posted. Okay, so just look for the notes. All right, good job. Remember, I'm expecting you to do all of these questions as part of your notes. So if you don't have all of them done, I'm not gonna stamp your notes. You gotta get everything done to get the stamp. Okay. All right. Bye bye.